This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Studio Central this afternoon with the daily news, the daily views, and we will try to avoid giving you the straight up blues. Yes, we're just gonna come at you with the real deal today, including more reading from the book Doing It the Hard Way. The story of Dr. Edward W. Crosby as told by himself, as well as some poems, some sayings, and everything else. But before we get started, you know we always need to do the needful before we start to get anywhere near kind of pleadful. And the first thing we need you to do, if you haven't already done it, is to go ahead and subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel. So if you could just go ahead and do that, that would be just really, really grand, if you don't mind. And in the meanwhile, we'll go ahead and tune you up with this saying from the mind of Dr. Edward W. Crosby. One of the things he used to always like to say is, I ain't giving up nothing but hard times and bubblegum, and I'm fresh out of gum. Fresh out of gum. So, that being said, we're going to go ahead and move right along here on into our poem of the day as we head toward our story of the day. Let's see what we got for a poem of the day. From let's see what we got here. Okay, I'm going to read this one here. I don't believe I read this one already. From the song, this is called Songs from an Afrophone. And we're going to read the title piece entitled Songs from an Afrophone by Daryl Redmond. Okay, the question is, who the heck is Daryl Redmond? But we'll find that out later. Meanwhile, Afrophone, voice in a veil, trumpet, Gabrielin, slavery's burial, threading the needle's slit, taming the weather's spit, tiptoeing on a straight pin's roof, in a soprano storm, an alto wind blade, symbols of lightning climbing clouds, a basely thunder strung in the lands growing. The eye of the storm is a narrow hum, nodding hum. The wipe of the wind, a colossal laugh, flammable cough. As the footfalls of trillionth man flail the drum belly of the globe, flirt with a hum that is seasonal solemnity. Afrophone, tree, trumpet, flute, and galaxial voices, Cosmo horn and urn calling, leaf, reed, and lyrical, reed, leaf, and miracle, fantasy and finale of man forced, danced through wooden lips, through gravel jaws, across river tongues, up from lake larynx, with mountain magic churning stone to stereo coolness in the hollow between these global titties, between these global ditties. That from the Afrophone stream, that from the Afrophone scream, that from the Afrophone strike fire, strum fire, blasting the furnace of the sun, blasting the furnace of the sun. Interesting poem, I would say there. Sounds like a typical Redmond ditty, but apparently written by someone else. although it appears to be maybe a close relative of Eugene Redmond. Since they both had the same last name, I'd have to make an assumption there. So next time I talk to Mr. Redmond, I'll have to ask him about Darrell Redmond and just who is Darrell Redmond anyway. Meanwhile, we're going to move on and groove on with our story of the glory of Dr. Edward W. Crosby. Moving right along here, we're trying to get back to the page that we were on. We had to do some funny things with the with our book here the other day. So let's see. Okay. Let's see. Oh, here we go. We're almost there. Almost there. A few more pages. Here we go. Here. Okay. So we ended with the death of Cassandra Gatlin Andress, who died on September 23rd, 1988. And Dr. Crosby apparently says, is documenting here when she died, and that she had gotten married, but unfortunately with her death, we lost a true anti-poverty warrior. May God bless and keep her. Chapter 6. After trying to wage a feckless war on poverty for 6 months. Wait a minute. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Seems like I'd already read this one here. Okay, gotta go a little bit further on. Try to remember. I should have written down what page I left off on. Didn't do that. Always an error. Here we go. Here. So we're in East St. Louis now, and he's moving on to a new job after having worked for the Community Action Council in Akron. We move on in to East St. Louis. Now, for those of you who don't know East St. Louis, well, put it this way. Ohio, at one time, Ohio was what we know now to be the Wild Wild West, the wild and woolly West. And one of the reasons they called it woolly was not because there were a lot of sheep out here, but there were a lot of critters. And one of the ways that you made your money was from capturing these critters. You made your money as a trapper. Well, East St. Louis was the next wave that came as the country began to push further and further west. And so East St. Louis is just on this side of the Mississippi. On the opposite side of the Mississippi is St. Louis. So you got East St. Louis, like you've got Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. Each of them on different sides of a river that divides them. I think in the case of Kansas City, I think it's the Missouri River that divides Kansas City, Kansas from Kansas City, Missouri. But at any rate, the point here is that they're right next to each other on opposite sides of the river, but primarily it was black folks that ended up living in East St. Louis and more white people that lived in St. Louis. But the other thing is a lot of the industrial, industry, local industry in the area happened in East St. Louis as opposed to St. Louis. And now, of course, there are two different states. One is Missouri and one is in the state of Illinois. So we lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and went to school there. But my dad worked, Dr. Crosby, he worked in East St. Louis on the other side of the river. And so this was true for the entire 4 years that we lived in Missouri. Well, he's now going to work for Hyman Frankel, and he's going to work over there with Paul Welcher and Don Henderson, former alumni from Kent State University, people that he had known. for quite a number of years and felt comfortable working with. But in order to do that, they first held a conference. And these sessions lasted 5 full days and for at least 6 hours each day, and at times well into the night, with respites for lunch and or dinner, if necessary. During our discussions, we went through Hyman's proposal and discussed at length the program's parameters, its goals and objectives, so the presumed administrative staff preset could be brought up to speed on the program's specifics. Everyone had or was handed a full copy of the Experiment in Higher Education's funding proposal submitted to the Office of Economic Opportunity. And SIU Carbondale's president, Dr. It looks like Delight Morris. Interesting name. This proposal obviously contained the experiment's several operational goals, objectives, and work plans. Some of its most informative objectives are included here. Some are in my own words. Many others have been cited without standard notations. Written in the mid-1960s, Dr. Frankel's proposal argues great numbers of capable young people, particularly those of African descent in America, have been reared and educated in poverty. Some of these, and that's an interesting way to put that statement, reared and educated in poverty. Some of these young people are either dropping out of middle school, believe it or not, high school, or if they had a chance to enter college, are eventually dropping out before completion of the first quarter or semester, much less the full 4-year term. Southern Illinois University dealt with the problem most intensely ever since its East St. Louis campus opened in 1957. From its experience there, the university believed the advent of the proposed experiment in higher education might help reduce the dropout rate of low-income white and black college students, especially should it now only concern itself with the complicated and interrelated community, but also with the educational and personal issues which are involved when coupled with the racial temper of the times. Frankel's vision was to attack the problem at its roots, but not in the same misguided way so many so-called educational opportunity programs were designed and operated. He wanted to do it holistically. Of course, poverty was a problem of the first magnitude in East St. Louis. Statistics on unemployment, public aid, housing, and income depict low-income black and white communities which had not shared in the general prosperity of the rest of the nation, or frankly stated, the general prosperity of the surrounding upper-class white communities. Solutions to the problem were made more difficult because of traditional patterns of discrimination in the areas of housing and employment. White young people living in close proximity to this black community also experienced retarded progress in their educational prospects. Unfortunately, they may have to attend the same high schools, or given their income levels, attend schools where their educational levels are also severely depressed. These factors assume major importance because African Americans comprise about 55% of the population of East St. Louis, and there are substantial white populations in 2 of the 3 adjacent townships, which are to be included in this program as well. Poverty is deeply embedded in the community structure. East St. Louis is a city left stranded by technological change. Industries which once employed large numbers of unskilled workers have moved, but the workers remained unemployed. It has all of the problems of the central cities in Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, or New York with few resources. It is a quote unquote satellite city. The center of the metropolitan area lies in St. Louis, Missouri. Not only on the other side of the river, but in a whole different state. Consequently, East St. Louis lacks the power of a central city to shape regional decisions affecting its economic and political fate. It is a city in which the number of dependent persons' ages are increasing. The number of persons 20 to 64 years of age, often referred to as the supportive population, decreased from 62.7% in 1940 to 50.8% in 1960. At the same time, the number of children under 5 years of age decreased from 11.1% in 1940 to 12.7% in 1960. Dissecting the community's residents, black and white, more thoroughly, we find dependency is high when expressed in another way. And then he goes through a whole list of different ways that this dependency issue exists within the community. 24.2% of the population gets public aid in some form. 21% of total labor force unemployed. 21% unemployment. Okay, let me just go back to that one. That's one that most of us can wrap our heads around. 21% unemployment. 33% of black people in the labor force unemployed. 10% of the white. About 55% of the population is non-white. So 10% white unemployment, 33% black unemployment, a total of 21% if you add everybody, put everybody together in the same boat. 41% of all households have no fully employed wage earners. Among the unemployed, 76.1% of African Americans reported incomes of less than $2,000 a year, while 44.1% of the white heads of households reported incomes less than $2,000 per year. About 75% of aid recipients are African Americans. 58% of able-bodied public aid recipients are functional illiterates. 8.4% of total occupied housing units are dilapidated, and 25.1% are deteriorated, according to the 1960 census. More than 50% of the dwelling units are unsound and overcrowded. 50% of the population is in the supportive, quote unquote, supportive age bracket of 20 to 64, compared with 62% in 1940 and 61% in 1950. So we can see that number is headed down. You know, less and less able to provide support to those who need it. Over 10% more white than African American heads of households belong to labor unions. Over 10% more white than African American heads of households belong to labor unions. Another form of discrimination. Don't let you in the union, can't get no job. You're not part of the union. Why don't you become a union member? Then you can get a job. These are bleak statistics. Their impact is even greater because they apply to a large segment of the black population and not to a relatively negligible one. To quote the literacy study conducted in East St. Louis by the Illinois Department of Public Aid, we'll do that tomorrow. So, in the meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and check out right about here. And then tomorrow, we'll pick up from where we left off. So, as you can see, he did get into a lot of statistics, which are not nearly as interesting as the actual story that he tells of these relationships that he formed and the things that he had to do in order to survive as an educator in East St. Louis, because there were forces arrayed against him. I know there were forces from the bottom up arrayed against him. In other words, those people dealing with the underground economy, the numbers, the mafia, prostitution, etc., drug dealers, all of that. But I believe there were also forces arrayed from the top down also. Yet and still, somehow the program was able to survive. And we'll see whether it thrived or whether it just kind of petered out when we continue. Meanwhile, we're going to say peace out without a doubt. We look forward to continuing to read from the book of Crosby as the week goes by. And we also look forward to our evening program, Real Talk, where we continue to read from the book, Oh Freedom, the book whose name is reminiscent of the song, Oh Freedom. Before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home and be free. So in the meanwhile, you all keep up the keeping up, keep on with the keeping on, and everything's going to be everything, and we're going to do the same. So look for us again here tonight at 9. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9, checking out. If you haven't done it yet, let me remind you one more time, go ahead and subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel. As I say, peace out to Esther Owens and Brother Solomon Israel. Peace out without a doubt, y'all. We'll be black.